I never didn't believe in Bigfoot. I never believed in it, I didn't believe in it. I never gave it any thought.
They kept wood knocking back and forth to each other, and it was in a pattern.
Barn owls don't typically throw rocks.
I come across these tracks.
Sasquatch is still not on my mind.
Like the great Obi-Wan Kenobi once said, hello there. Welcome back to my show, people. This is the Caffeinated Cryptid. And we're kind of taking, once this airs, I'll have already explained this, but since this is the first episode I'm doing post my little thing, my little slight tick in format change, I'm first show I'm recording, I'll just explain it like, because I'm just trying to make myself convinced of it. I'm keeping the Bigfoot topic always, but the other paranormal aspects I have on today's guest has some UFO stories and some paranormal stories. Those I'm going to try to figure out how they can lend, what's the word? How the other paranormal genres can lend, credence to the Bigfoot genre, because they all kind of tie together, in my opinion, from what I've heard. So we're going to hear Mr. GMAN's story about he's got some UFO stories, some paranormal stories, and they are, from what I've heard, really good bangers. So it's going to be nice, but not nice. It's going to be good. What are we, a customer servant? We're nice. Before we get started, I got my sponsor. That's Friggin' Coffee. That's store.friggincoffee.com on your screen. And sometimes I'm live on yergs.com and at Talk TV 24. That's usually on Sunday nights. And everyone check out bobbydizzle.com and click that subscribe button, because I'm on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and a bunch of other ones. They added to me off and on. But you all know how to find me, bobbydizzle.com. It's right there, every way to find me. My website's like a little business card. You turn it on, there's everything. Let's get to Mr. G-Man here. He has got some UFO stories, and we're going to dive into a little of my alternate topic that I kind of don't discuss anymore, and that's kind of the JFK thing and things like that, the conspiracy world. Not to call them that, but that's what it is. So, G-Man, the floor is yours. Let's hear about your story and your shtick. What you got?
All right, Bobby. Thank you very much for having me on your show. I appreciate it. And the reason I want people to know, the reason that I'm not putting my real name and my face out there is because I lived in Washington, D.C. for quite a few years, and I got friendly with some people that I shouldn't have, and they knew about my story. When I was 5 years old, I was abducted in northern Ohio, taken aboard a ship. And, what was really weird, there were two small grays that I saw. One that brought me onto the ship, and the one who was kind of like sitting in a seat looking out a window, but you couldn't see the window from the outside, just from the inside. And to the right, around a corner, was a tall gray. I mean, he was your typical tall, about 7 foot. And there I was, a 5-year-old kid. I was really small. But the sensation I felt when I first went on the ship was I felt the most intense feeling of love I've ever felt up to then. And it started at my feet, went up my legs, my chest, my arms, and then the top of my head. And I was like all aglow with love, right? And
similar to what they say, like in a near-death experience. Very.
Yeah, kind of, I guess. I've had one of those too, but that was later on
No,
in
I
life.
won't get ahead of you. I won't get ahead of you. Sorry.
But yeah, so he asked me, he said, "Do you want to meet your brother?" And I was adopted, and I
Oh.
was living, I was adopted, which is a whole different topic for another
Mhm.
day. But
That's another podcast there.
yeah, and I remember him going around a corner, and he came back, and he was holding this what looked like a 6 to 8 month old baby, and it had totally blonde hair, and I don't have any blonde hair,
Hmm.
but he had blue eyes like me, you know.
Hmm.
And I remember touching his foot because he was being held by the alien at the time, and because I've never tried to regress into this to find out exactly what happened from A to Z, you know, and every
Hmm.
second in between.
How old did you say you were?
5,
5. Okay. Wow. So
yeah.
you would have a baby brother.
So
Possibly.
it's possible, you know.
Mhm.
But anyway, I went back in, and as I was exiting the ship, I remember seeing a flash to the first time that I was abducted because I was wearing different pajamas, right?
Well, so you didn't remember that one?
Yeah, it was like
Yeah. Right.
my bedroom was on top of a garage where two windows that were spaced about 6 feet apart were facing east, and the one window to my immediate right when you walk into the room was facing south. So
Hmm.
when I was abducted the second time, I remember the lights. The lights is what woke me up. You know, I was sleeping, and all of a sudden I started seeing a red and a green and a blue and a yellow, and they
Hmm.
were like flashing all over my room through the window, and that was the south window. So, but as I was exiting the ship after that experience there, I remembered when the first time I was abducted, I saw the ship through uh, the far left east windows, right? So,
Hmm.
like, why it was actually visiting a little podunk town in Ohio is beyond me, you
That's what
know.
they do.
But yeah, it was like I lived approximately a quarter mile away from Lake Erie. So, but
Like a
yeah,
pig farmer in Arkansas. They're always visiting those places.
yep. So now let's fast forward a couple years. I'm in school. You know, I think it was like second or third grade. It was 1962,
Hmm.
and I remember the teacher giving us this task, and that was to write to a famous person and see if they reply, right?
Hmm.
So all these kids, they were picking like local TV people, so on and so forth. And I just happened to see where in the newspaper they had a list of all these famous people you could write to. And one of them was JFK and gave the address for the White House. So I wrote him a letter, and I was hoping to get it back in time to get it graded before the end of school, but it didn't work out that way. Yeah, and it was delivered, his response to my letter. Like, what I did was, I told him about
Hmm.
my abduction, right? And I said, you know, we really should get ships like that in the United States. You know,
That's
so we
crazy.
could-
You wrote a
Yeah.
letter to JFK and told him about your abduction.
What's that?
You wrote a letter to JFK and told him about your abduction, like as a little kid.
Yeah, yeah,
That's great. Right before his idea, we're going to go to the moon. You did it.
yeah. Well, you know what? This was about when I sent the letter off. It was like April or May, and I was hoping to get it back by mid-June when before school was over.
Was this May of
Yeah.
'62?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Sure was. He wrote me back a letter. Excuse me. Yeah, I wish there was a mute so I could cough every now and then.
Oh, it adds to the ambiance.
Ah, okay.
I slurp half the time.
Do you?
No one's noticed it yet. I'll sit over here and go, I'll catch myself when I'm listening to it again.
And I drew him a picture of the ship, except I didn't send him an exact picture of the ship. It was kind of like a cross between that and the Jetsons vehicle.
Mhm.
And he wrote me back, and it was delivered by 2 FBI agents, one with a dark gray suit and one with a dark brown suit. Them I remember because I've seen them many times after that. But so in the letter he goes, you know, that I would be really good if I was ever, when I grow up, I become a scientist, I could go to work for the FBI or the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said that was pretty cool. But the bad part was when the 2 FBI agents dropped off the letter to me, my parents were home. And they made sure to tell my parents that I shouldn't be bothering the president. He's a very busy man.
Holy shit.
Which,
Did you get in trouble?
which got my butt kicked.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But, okay, now let's, after you know the beginning part, and that part there, it was like, so I got the letter in July. So we all know what happened that following
Mm-hmm. Year and a half later.
a half a year later. Yeah, in '62. It was bad. So,
He got shot in '63.
you sure it was '63? Look it up. Is
Mhm.
it 62 or '63?
It was 11/22/63.
Okay.
The only reason I know is because the moon landing was '69 and it was like 6 years.
Ah, okay. All right. Got my ears mixed up. It's been a while since I've been back there.
I just
So-
watched a documentary on it last night too.
Ah, all right.
There's
Well,
a show.
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it. It's a show called 11/22/63. James Franco about that. It's pretty good.
I'll have to watch that.
It's good.
So, yeah. So I'm going to school, and all of a sudden I get a letter from principal like 3 years later, 3 years after the JFK letter, where the principal goes, we want to send you for special testing to see if you can go to a better institution, so on and so forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I considered myself to be an average student at best. And so I show up at the class to take this special test. 2 guys walk into the room. You'll never guess which 2 guys.
Brown suit, gray suit.
Gray suit, brown suit.
Mm.
Both wearing the same suits and the same fedoras, by the way.
Yeah.
And I looked
That's
at the one. I looked at the one. Excuse me. I looked at the one guy and I said, "Hey, aren't you with the government?" And he goes, "No, I'm with the county." And then he walks to to the side of the room where there's one window going all the way across. And he's looking out the window, and I'm staring at him, and then I'd look at the other guy, and I'm going, no, these two guys got my butt kicked. Of course I'm going to remember them. And
How long in between times was that?
what's
How
that?
long? In between the time you got the letter back and you went to this school?
Oh,
Or you gotten?
it was 3 years, about.
Oh, okay. I was going to say
Yeah.
it wasn't like the next semester. Like, damn, dude, that's been 3 months. Okay.
No,
3 years.
no.
Yeah, 3 years. Okay.
It was a few years later, for sure.
Still, that
And-
kind of trauma, you would remember them.
Yeah. And I'm in a classroom with brainiacs. And I'm like, what the frick am I doing in this room? You know? And I said to the one girl next to me, her name was Melody, I said, hey, I mean, why am I in the room with all you brainiacs? And she says, well, we must not be that smart. And I was like, oh, okay. But, and so I'm staring at the one guy who's looking out the window, and without turning around, he goes, keep your eyes on your test and take your test, please. And he said my name. And I thought that's kind of strange.
One of the other students said that?
What?
You said it was one of the other.
It was one of the FBI guys. The one
Okay.
He was looking out the window. He wasn't even facing me. I was
Okay.
looking at it. I was looking at his back, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and that's when he said, you can put your eyes toward your test and take your test now, please. So I did. And, but I was a very rebellious kid. So
Mhm.
whatever plans they had for me, you know, if I was being groomed for anything through physical abuse, then I think they failed.
Yeah.
You know?
And did they end up accepting you to that school, or did?
No. That was it for the school thing. But I did see them again a few years later, not at school, but I went to a UFO meeting. I think my adopted dad was looking for a place to get rid of me while he went to the bar. So he put me in this room, and guess what? The guy in the brown suit was in there.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane. That guy's waiting on you.
It was weird, yeah. Because I remember him looking at me, and you said, you know, we're watching these people in this place. And I said, it's just UFOs. You know, it's no big deal. And, yeah. I ended up seeing him years later again at the movie theater. Going to watch the movie The Exorcist.
That's a good place for him. Now, is there any? Is he like a historically significant person you've seen in other? Like, would he have a name someone recognize, or just an FBI agent that you dealt with?
It was just the FBI agent that I dealt with at that time. You know, but my great grandmother, my great grandmother, who was a clairvoyant, was trying to teach me to open up my abilities, much like her, you know. But hers was kind of like, hers was almost on the fringe of abusive. Like they would hold up a card, and I would have to tell them what card it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
By just looking at the backs of cards, and every time I got one wrong, I got wrapped in the knuckles with a ruler.
That seems counterproductive to how that actually does work. From what I've
No,
heard.
actually, abuse is what gets you closer. That's Montauk.
Oh yeah,
The
Well-
Montauk boys. That was a good lesson.
Yeah, that's the extreme end of it there with the Montauk bunch.
Yeah.
They beat the shit out of them.
But I did have a couple more sightings during my time in school and everything. I saw one like really close up in the clouds in a little town called North Ridgeville. And it was about a mile away from Martin Mull's parents' house, if you know who Martin Mull is.
I don't.
Okay.
Not off the top of my head.
Look up that name and you'll find out. And
I'll check it out.
it was what is it again? Martin Mull.
I'll check. American actor and comedian.
Yeah, that's him. And I think he was on a show called Fernwood Tonight. I think that was the name of it.
I recognize him. I've seen him stuff before.
Yep. So it was very dark out, and I was on my way to Cleveland, going through North Ridgeville, and the clouds got so thick and so low to the ground. They were like only maybe 10, 20 feet above the telephone pole, the top of the telephone pole. So, and I remember there was a small opening in one of the clouds, and boom, that's when I saw it go right by underneath. It was a quick-moving vehicle. But I got to see the bottom of it. The bottom of it was pretty wild. It kind of like had slats all along the bottom, almost like a military vehicle, but it wasn't military for sure.
Now you were in Ohio when all this happened, right?
What's that?
Did you say you were in Ohio? Was that the?
Yeah, I was in Ohio then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that, could it have been close to Wright-Patterson in the Dayton area?
No, that's farther north.
Okay. So it'd be kind of cool if you were seeing some kind of testing you didn't know about.
No. But they were always above Lake Erie. I mean, you could always see weird lights above Lake Erie for sure, and above Cleveland. Because I remember cars pulling over. Everybody's like pulled over on the shoulder, and they're all pointing and looking at the lights.
Really?
Which yeah.
Is that like a sighting that has a name? Like
No, it was
some of them. They have like the something incident.
Because like it was, it had to have been 25, 30 miles outside of Cleveland. So no, there was no special name for it or anything.
Plenty of traffic to see it though.
Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, so that was my experience with JFK. A little bit about my wacky grandmother and great grandmother, and so I've seen a few ships. And
that was actually a really good story, by the way. I was not expecting that on a Wednesday after work.
Oh, what
yeah,
you mean? What I've been through so far?
Yeah, just that initial abduction story mixed with the JFK and the letter. That is a good story. That is like a, you know how the little History Channel has the documentary of mini segments. That'd be a good one for that.
I remember my dad. What an idiot.
Oh, did you hit mute?
Yeah, I stopped it. So anyway, yeah, so I've had a few more experiences other than that. Now that I live out west now. But I do have a Bigfoot story.
Oh, we'll take those.
All right. It happened while I was sent to a military camp in Ohio. And we all slept like in shacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was late one night where I heard something rattling on top of the roof, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the front part was screened with a screen door and screens on either side of the door. And I noticed there was a big shadow. And the door opened. But it wasn't a shadow. It wasn't the big one. It was something smaller whose knuckles actually looked like they were dragging on the floor. And it reached up and grabbed the post of the bunk bed that I was on, because I was on the upper bunk. And I remember screaming, and it ran out. And
so it was inside the bunk. It was inside the bunkhouse.
Yeah, it was. Yep, it sure the hell was, and it stunk too. Really bad smell.
So it was. It had its hands on. You say you heard it in the. You woke up and saw a shadow. You heard it banging on the ceiling.
There was two of them. There was a large one, and a small one. And the small one was the one who came into the bunk.
Oh, okay. So there was something on the roof. That's what you heard.
Yeah.
I mixed up the part where it came in.
Ah, okay. So yeah,
a little juvenile inside. It's kind of it'd be scary.
I remember telling one of the officers, because they all heard me screaming, so they came running, and I told them what it was. And the next day they took me aside and they said, you know, it was just a monkey that got loose from a train from a circus. I said,
what's next? Swamp gas?
I said, are you sure? Because that didn't look like a monkey. Okay. And I've never seen like 8-foot monkeys outside the bunkhouse. Never. I don't think they make 8-foot tall monkeys anyway.
Not anymore.
No. No. So yeah. So that's how that story went.
That smells
And
like
then-
that.
And then I was, excuse me, I was going to speak to another podcast about it, and I told them that story. And they called the camp, and the camp said, well, that was 20 years ago when the military camp was run and owned by so-and-so and so-and-so, and so that nothing could be verified, so I didn't pursue that any further.
Well, good Lord. What kind of podcaster? I mean, of course you're not going to be able to call and get an official report of something like that.
Yeah. You know, and it was military school, and I think they just wanted it to go away altogether. You know.
Mm-hmm. Where is the camp now? If you can say. What's it called?
I can't say.
Okay. Hey, don't worry about it. It's not that big a deal. Camp's a camp.
All right.
It's just like the second or third camp story I've had. Last one was from Connecticut, and there was I think I just did one from Florida Sunday.
This one was where the Cleveland Browns used to practice years and years and years and years and years ago. So
I mean, the reason I was asking is I was going to look at the area and see how wooded it was, but you probably already know that.
yeah,
It's like a desolate. If it's a camp, it's definitely like the prerequisites are wooded.
yeah. I don't
Perfect
think
setting.
I don't think it's a military school now.
No,
But
I wouldn't have.
no, I can
I don't even think
remember.
they have military schools anymore.
I can remember after they told me that story, I lit a bag of crap on top of one of the officers' doorsteps and got kicked out. Which
This is hilarious. You're like it's like the anti-Forrest Gump.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
like a Forrest Gump kind of show.
Yep. So I moved out west.
Mm-hmm.
needless to say, after I lived in Washington, D.C., I got friendly. I asked too many questions. People gave too many answers. And things kind of got a little hot for me. So I decided to beat feet out west. You know, so
But
that's where I'm at.
I mean, if you're out west now, are you seeing a lot of UAPs out there? I mean, that's where they live.
A lot. And there's a great director who lives out here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Clive Christopher.
Oh, yeah. I think you told me about him.
Yeah, and hopefully you'll be able to get him on for an interview sometime. But I know he's down for interviews, and people can go on Tubi, Amazon Prime, and iTunes is where you can see his all his documentaries. And the very last one he did, I don't know what's so bad about it, but nobody wanted to show it, you know. The movie before that, I mean, he really dwells into the historical aspect of UAPs. And just so everybody gets it straight, UAPs
Mm-hmm.
and Bigfoot, all cryptids, and the paranormal are all interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
I went to it hit me that I need to pursue that. Like I said, the other facets of the paranormal, because they all the evidence you get from those seem to lend themselves to the Bigfoot phenomenon.
Well, where you see one, you're more than likely going to experience all three.
Yep.
Look at Skinwalker Ranch, by the way. I mean, you know, they experience all three. Every state has a place of high strangeness. Every state. So every
place in the world has it. It's insane.
Yeah, every place. You know, and as of today, I think there's still 100,000 standing pyramids in the world too. It's a great communicator and energy focus agent, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, everything is all tied together. You study one, and pretty soon you'll be running into the other two. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like what happened with me, you know.
Mm-hmm. You wind up overlapping a bunch.
Yeah, a bunch.
Like you're a UFO guest, and we just did a Bigfoot story. There we go.
You know, and
it just happened.
There was a paranormal one too, I can tell you about, where I heard the phone ringing, and the bedroom door was closed. So I was going to run out into the kitchen to answer the phone, and somebody opened the door halfway, so that I ran face first right into the door jamb. You know, the edge of the door?
Yeah.
It was totally dark in there because it was like around 3 o'clock in the morning. So that was kind of weird. But I saw the spirit that actually did it, and it was kind of a pilgrim-looking person, you know? 1700s kind of garb. You know, and he was
the old colonial.
He was just there for a minute and then gone. That's when I lived right on the beach in Lake Erie. But so
colonial figures that time. Okay.
There must have been people in there or around there around the late 1700s.
Yeah, surely. I mean, people have been here for 100 years by then.
1812 was the War of 1812, right? And that was all the lakes had that stuff going on.
Yeah, especially the upper Ohio area surely had them.
Yeah. And so living here in Arizona, I get to experience lots of all three. Lots. A tremendous amount. There's so many paranormal places in Arizona. But like I said, every state has an area of high strangeness.
Well, they have that. Arizona's got like the Navajo reservation at the top of it. They got the skinwalkers and stuff out there.
You know, there's only one thing that I left out, and that's when I graduated from high school. I got a phone call one day, and this was some of the weirdest shiznit you'll ever hear. The person on the other end says, "Hi, is this so-and-so?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "What's up?" And he goes, "I want you to come to Connecticut for a short while to be in a focus group." And I go, "Really? How much money is involved?" And he goes, "Well, we can't actually offer you any money."
Like,
And
okay, why am I driving 1,000 miles?
He couldn't tell me who he was or what it was all about or how he found out about me, you know. Almost as mysterious as how you found out about me. But
I don't know if I don't know
yeah.
how I did it was mysterious. You're just a member of a group on Facebook.
But the guy was like, "What am I supposed to tell you, my parents?" And he goes, "Don't tell them anything. Just leave. Just leave."
Okay.
And I said, "No, I don't think so." And so I said, "No, I don't want to do this. It doesn't sound right, you know. It seems kind of fishy." And he goes, "Well, it's not." And I go, "Yeah, okay. You
He
want me
said,
to
"Well,
drive
it's
all
not
that
fishy."
way?"
That's the best way to convince someone something's not fishy. No.
But then he calls me again a few months later, and this time I was PO'd at him, right? Because here we go, wasting my time again. And he goes, "Well, you'd only be in Connecticut for a short while, and then we'll have you in the very eastern part of New York. And that's where you'd be doing your focus and research." So I really didn't.
I would want more specifics. You would think they'd be more specific.
Yeah, you'd think. You'd think.
You think you missed some signals along the way or anything? Like they were trying to tell you, like, wink, wink, do this, and you're just like, no.
So I told this guy, I said, "Look, I can't do this, you know. I have to pay for my way to be able to get there, number one.
Yeah.
And then you're not paying me, and so I'm going to have to find a job to support myself while I'm doing your freebie crap, right?" And it didn't feel right to me. You know?
No.
Didn't feel right to me at all. And then through other channels, I got to talk to Peter Moon, and he's the editor. For all those who are interested in Montauk or the Philadelphia experiment or anything else, skybooks.com USA. And that's Peter Moon. He's an editor, and he's worked with all these fantastic authors. He's also an author himself. But that's when I found out through him about the whole Montauk thing and how they were using abuse and aggression in order to get people to take that next step, you know, and it started connected that eastern part of New York is kind of like Montauk, right?
Mm-hmm. It really is.
Yeah.
You heard all the stories from Long Island? There's all kinds of stuff going on up there.
And I know
not just Montauk.
I know that they have kind of like a special magical kind of focus group there in the town that's closest to where Montauk actually was. So yeah.
You think they were trying to get you to go to Montauk and get in on that?
It's quite possible. Quite possible. Because I think I've been groomed most of my life for the abuse, you know. So it would just make sense that that would be the next step. And
This is weird.
I did have,
Hmm.
you know, psychic grandmother and great grandmother, you know, not by blood though. They were my adopted grandmother and great grandmother, but they still said that I was the sixth child of a something or other in Wales. That's what I know. I never really got to find out who my real parents were.
That sounds crazy made up.
It sounds crazy made up, but every time I would ask about, you know, I would like to search for my real parents and find out, you know, why they dumped me. And my adopted parents would like get so butthurt and so pissed off about it that I couldn't pursue it, you know. And later on in life, when I tried to pursue it, I tried to find out through Ohio adoption, and they said, "You'll never know." And I said, "What?" They said, "You'll never know." And I said, "What if I go get a lawyer or I get a judge to agree with me?" And they said, "You could go to the highest judge in the land and you'll never get that information." So that's what I know.
That is oddly suspicious. It's like you were plucked for adoption, not given up.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
it's got some Ray Palpatine vibes.
Yeah, it's pretty strange, that's for sure. You know, but that's my life, I guess. If you look in strange in the dictionary, you'll see my picture.
There's a lot of connections there, especially with the you know, the black brown suit man and can't find out who your parents are.
Yeah. I mean, what if I needed, for medical reasons, what if I needed to find out family history? That means I'm just crapola out of luck.
You would think at your age now you could get more farther along, since the consequences wouldn't be as dire as when you were in your 20s or so.
No, I was told that if I paid somebody like $5,000, they could find out. But
yeah, what happens if they run into the same barrier you did?
Yeah, I know.
And you're out $5,000.
Have
you done like a DNA test yet?
No, I haven't. No, I didn't figure it would do any good. The DNA test is only going to tell me is only going to tell me what part of the world my genes come from.
Yeah, but if like your parents had other kids, they could you could link up, maybe find out who their father was.
Yeah, I'd love to know if I had siblings. I really would.
I found out I was kin to my cousin's cousin, who wasn't my cousin, but is my cousin. We were double cousins.
Wow.
It was funny. I said, "So I'm kin to your cousin," talking to my one cousin. Like, that checks out.
So, yeah, so living in Arizona, I'm having a great time. I decided, and I've taught teenagers, you know, radio and television, co-owned a radio station for a couple years. Got to do a great show, Mysteries Explained. Hope to work more with Clive Christopher, and he's doing a whole bunch of really neat stuff. Everybody really should look up his
what kind of work does he actually do? What kind of work does he actually do? I was going to get kind of a background from him. Be a good chance here.
What kind of what? I'm sorry.
You know, what kind of work, like director work, does he actually do? I know it's like UFO based, but I didn't dive too deep.
Documentaries. He actually dwells into the history. You know, talks about presidents and the people who worked for him. He's had people on who never done an interview before because they wanted to stay on the down low. I mean, very, very interesting. He's got like 6 documentaries out.
I was getting harassed by somebody that was similar to that kept telling me to interview this guy named Ron Anderson or something. I can't think of who that was. I had to block him. I'm like, dude, calm down.
Wow.
Hey, I was like, yeah, I'll interview him. I'm like, give me a date. He goes, you got to call him first. I'm like, no, I'm not calling him. What kind of scam are you running? I'm like, it's not how this works. You're doing it the wrong way. Some of the material he said, some of the material he was talking about reminded me of some of Clive Anderson's, not Christopher Clive. What's his name?
Clive Christopher.
Clive Christopher. It reminded me of some of his stuff he did, just not as outrageous.
Have you watched any of his documentaries?
I think I watched a couple promos because I was just seeing what he was about.
Okay. I'm doing a search right now because I can't remember the names of them, but I know one's on the history. You know.
Let me check it out. Clive Christopher. He's supposed to be on in about 2 weeks, honestly.
Oh, really?
I haven't heard officially back from him yet. I think the 29th I'm going to.
Yeah, I love the work he does, but he has to be careful because he goes some places and gets too close to things than he should, you know? And I've learned the hard way. I've had my life turned upside down, and messed with.
Yeah. They'll definitely do it. Civic Cipher, Broadcasting Balance, Aliens Uncovered. Several aliens uncovered.
Aliens Uncovered Origin is a really good one. The Golden Record's pretty cool, yeah. All his movies are just great. And the good thing about Tubi TV is you don't have to pay rental.
Yeah, Tubi seems to be legit. I watch a lot of stuff on there.
Did you know Tubi was owned by Fox?
I figured it was owned by somebody.
Fox. Yeah.
It reminds me of whenever I was in college in the early 2000s, you just watched TBS and it had a bunch of random stuff on all day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Tubi reminds me of. It's just random stuff that's moderately good. Like, oh, this is interesting. And you don't have to pay for it.
Yeah. I like them because I really enjoy horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have some pretty decent cheesy ones on there, you know.
I'll tell you what I found on Tubi or Freebie was a lot of stand-up comedians now because I love stand-up comedy, like the real older stuff. I found a lot of their older acts. I'm like, man, this is amazing. 20-year-old when they still had long hair or something.
Yeah. So I would suggest to everybody, I mean, every state has them. So where you're at, all you got to do is to do a Google lookup and you'll find an area close by and you just start researching. Research.
Hey, I work on the army base where they brought the Nazis from World War II.
Oh, really?
That's where I work. So yeah, I meet up with it. Werner von Braun.
Did you know that the Dulles? Have you ever heard of the Dulles brothers?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's the one that Virginia was named after.
One was Secretary of State, and the other one was Attorney General.
Yeah. So Dulles, Virginia was named after.
Yeah. Dulles Airport, too, but now it goes by another name, I believe. But, yeah, those guys were very instrumental since they were investing German money into America during World War II. I thought it was kind of interesting that they would go on to hold such high political offices.
Oh. Convenience, what it is.
They also had the law. There was a law that said nobody in the States during World War II can invest for Germany or in Germany or anything like that. They had that law repealed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They became very rich and famous.
Yeah. I've always heard the story that Germany lost World War II. The Nazis didn't.
No.
The Nazis actually won it.
You know,
from America.
I heard I heard somebody associated with Trump say that in New York and Trump Tower, there's a floor you can go to. I don't know what floor. They wouldn't tell me what floor. I asked. And it's the Fourth Reich. That office is occupied by the Fourth Reich.
It wouldn't shock me if they're operating somewhere.
You know? So I don't think anybody could ever put an end to that, as much as the evil part should be done away with. It'll never happen because of power and money. Those are the two things that control Washington, D.C.
I mean, what if that was just a that whole regime was just like an offshoot of the Roman Empire, that kind of elitist that just moving around? You know, it's just the same group of people since the beginning of time.
Yeah, since the beginning of time. You're absolutely correct, Bob.
They go by Romans. They go by, you know, whatever. Fill in the blank. Famous group, Illuminati.
Yeah, the Illuminati.
Knights Templar.
Yep.
They're gonna come break my windows out tonight.
And I'm sure the Masons will be pissing all over me right now because they're behind a lot of the crap that's going on as well.
Yeah, it's almost like that kind of conspiracy theory is almost like they're doing to Bob Lazar. Like if they took him out, it would validate that he was doing it, so they make him seem crazy.
You know,
like if they kill Bob Lazar, they're like, oh, that's real. If they keep him, let him sound like he's nut. You know, it lends to some doubt.
Oh, there's so many ways to discredit a person. You know, so
they're good at it.
I'd rather not have them visiting me anymore, to be honest with you.
No, I would refrain from that.
So,
what's your thoughts on what's going on in Area 51? You think it's just testing, or do they have something in the 40s happen there?
Oh, I'm sure they've had things there, but I'm sure there are other places now as well.
I was hearing they took them to Wright-Patterson.
Yeah, I'm sure they've graduated from what people actually get to see of Wright-Pat or S4 or S2 or Area 51. There's 20 levels above the president that have more security access than the president. So I'm sure that's a limited amount of people, you know.
Here's a hot take on that. I'm glad that that's the case. In an odd way, because that means we're doing stuff that could be potentially keeping us really, really safe. And there's something cool going on.
I don't know.
Maybe it's going to kill us all, but I like the idea of that.
When you have the CIA investing millions of dollars in primate research in the 80s, I mean, why? That would be the main question.
I've always wanted, like, the age-old question: why can't we know about Bigfoot? Like, why are they keeping that? Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah, because if you get 100 of them, you can actually let them loose in a country and wreak havoc.
Yeah, I think they're using their technology, whatever technology they're using. I think there's some of that. Harnessed.
I really believe that there are different species of Bigfoot. You know, some
definitely different breeds.
Different breeds. There you go. Some are 3-toed, some are 6-toed, some are 4-toed, some are 5-toed. Some can dematerialize and cloak. Some can't. Some can telepathy. You know, some can. I mean, it's wild, and you know, it's really strange that we have the power as human beings to actually create something out of nothing. Look at Slender Man. Slender Man was a comic book, and then within years, and so many people putting energy into Slender Man actually made it so that he did appear to people. Where
Grade
there were
A tulpa.
pictures. What?
He's a tulpa. We manifested
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, they did. You know, and I'm afraid that they're going to be doing that with weirder stuff than what's there now. You know, like the rake.
I'm trying to manifest a good podcast.
It'll work. It'll happen eventually, I'm sure. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You just
It's
gotta
weird how
try.
manifestation works. Manifestation's terrifying, but I love it.
Hmm.
It's like a gentle snowball.
Yeah, it's like I don't think the rake was ever a living animal or being or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or the Wendigo. You know, I knew that was really strange, but then I met somebody who actually saw one. So, and I know how scared she was.
I always get the
And-
rake and the Wendigo and the Skinwalker all mixed up.
Interesting. Yeah, there's and what people aren't manifesting, then you have the wackos at DARPA who will go, wow, a dog with 15 heads and arms like an octopus. And next thing you know, they're in the lab trying to create it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. They'll come up with it like they reverse engineered Star Trek, coming up with stuff that Gene Roddenberry made up 20 years before, like the warp drive in the what's it called, the beam me up transporter, teleporter.
You know, I believe he was tuned into the government in certain ways.
He sure hit the nails on the head a bunch.
Yeah.
Like almost every one of them, 100%.
I think Rod Steiger was another guy who is tuned in, you know. And Gene Roddenberry's kid now, I mean, they're all doing great. They're writing some great stuff. So it's
Who was
all
Rod Steiger?
What?
What did Rod Steiger write here? I'm looking it up. Oh.
Rod Steiger was an actor.
Amityville Horror. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. He was
just a little before my time, but I've seen some of these.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's basically my story, kind of, you know.
Yeah, it's a good talk.
Well, it's the first time I've never actually tried to sit down and piece everything together in some kind of order. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've never tried to regress, to go through regression therapy to find out more about what happened during the abductions or anything else. So.
But you remember them mostly as being like positive for the most part.
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah. That feeling of love going from your feet to the top of your head, that is weird. But that actually happened. I can still remember the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And the smell.
It's odd that they had your brother.
Yeah, that was odd, yeah. So it was like they knew who I was and where I was. Even though I'd just been adopted a couple years before, so.
Do you have a belly button?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. I have 16 of them. They go right around my stomach.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I have a big one now because I haven't been working and I've been pigging out. So.
It's like it'd be weird if you're like some alien clone. That's why they had your brother, and that's why you'll never know you're adopted.
Yeah, and
I'm spitballing here.
my blood isn't Rh negative either, so it's not alien blood.
I mean, it could be. So it wouldn't. That sound the way that you were jerked around like that and just continuously on the radar has some kind of indicator that there's something up with you.
Something, yeah. I mean, I ended up going to Canada for a couple of years too before I moved out west, and I saw some pretty strange things up there. I had a ghost come up the stairs at me, an older guy, and he was smoking a cigar because I could smell the cigar. And what I did was I closed the downstairs door and I ran out the front. Yeah.
That's crazy how they can do the smoke thing.
Yeah. It's all
Make
crazy.
it make a smell. Well, I know a fellow whose house he used to live in would come home and it'd smell like they were cooking roast, and nobody was cooking.
Wow.
So smoking out of the question.
So that's a place where I would like to live, because if it was roast, man, it's got to be
was roast and
somewhere.
beans.
Yeah, I mean, portals are a very strange thing, you know, the way they can let things in and not let them out.
Don't go into one.
You know, I might. Who knows? Who knows? I might take that chance.
I've heard that it will give you pretty bad diseases.
No,
extreme.
It'll drive you crazy because you're on a totally different frequency.
I've heard about the Geiger counter readings and the cancers you'll get from going into some.
Yeah, the radiation. Yeah.
Yeah. I've met a couple of those guys. Well, one personally, but I can't say the name. I'm not allowed to. But it's a wild. It's wild when everybody around actually saw the entrance and exit happen, and
right.
and the result happened directly after that. I'm like, man, you just can't, how do you explain that to everyone?
Yeah, it's tough, you know. But I know a couple people who can actually see portals. So, and I'll tell you the most famous one is Amy Allen, who used to be on a show called Dead Files.
Mm-hmm. I know that name.
She can sense them and see them. So I'm wondering why they never sent her to like Skinwalker Ranch. You know, they have so
they
many
may
portals.
have. You never know.
Yeah, well, you're right. There's a lot of things that we'll never know about what the government did while they were there, or what's going on now. Really.
I mean, how many of these people who have these super abilities get scooped up and taken out to test?
Right.
You don't know.
And pretty soon, Blind Frog Ranch, the new season will be on the air. And an acquaintance of mine, James Keenan, will be on there. Have you heard of James?
It sounds familiar. I know about Blind Frog Ranch.
Yep. Well, that's a really strange story too, because all those guys have seen ships like up close, and the aliens actually saved Dwayne's daughter when she was in the hospital, and she was in bad shape. They didn't think she was going to make it, and sure enough, they came over top of the hospital and helped her.
I've heard that story before. I didn't know that's who it was.
Yep, that's who it was. That was Dwayne's daughter who was in the hospital. But Blind Frog is a great place, but like Beyond Skinwalker is going to be visiting so many more places that aren't on the map, which is kind of cool, because so many different places deserve a little bit of attention, you know, for cryptids or UFOs or ghosts. You know, take your pick.
Or are they all the same? Morphing. That's what'll mess you up.
I'm sure there's things that happen exactly at Skinwalker that doesn't happen at, say, Mount Wilson. You know, and the whole Mount Wilson thing, that was a Bigelow project to begin with, too. Did you know that?
I knew that he had a couple more. I didn't know the names.
Yeah.
That's neat. I knew that.
So,
I know they're doing a lot of testing. My God, around Utah, and it's around the time that they started seeing all those issues at Skinwalker. But who knows if they're attributed? A lot of the electromagnetic testing.
yep. Well, I hope within next year or two, people, we find out whether there's actually craft underneath the mountains or aliens come out and say, hey, we're here, you want to play ball, whatever. But
We're being spoon fed.
what's that?
I said we're being spoon fed just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know how
And
much more we're going to get.
I'm kind of sweating right now, too, because I have the feeling that all this stuff, like, the whole Brazilian thing with those creatures, the holograms of the creatures,
Mm-hmm.
that was us. That was not aliens from another frickin' planet.
Talking about the moment of contact? Or was...
No, the one that happened just within the past few months. Is that the one that was called Moment of Contact?
No, that was one from like the 80s.
Oh.
That was a
okay.
recount. I didn't know they had one from recently.
Peru, where the aliens were like trying to take women, and trying to hurting farm animals, and yeah, it's all pretty strange. But yeah, that was us. Scared the hell out of the natives, though, for sure.
Alien attacking Peru, 7-foot bulletproof flying aliens.
Yep, that's it. That's the one. That was us.
I didn't even hear about that.
You can thank you can thank our intel community for that one. I won't say which ones because then I'll know they'll come looking for me again. So
yeah,
you can just take your pick. Throw a dart up against the board with 20 names of different intel agencies, and I'm sure you'll, within 2 or 3 darts, you'll hit it.
Why didn't I hear about this? That's crazy. The only thing I've heard about recently has been the little paper mache ones in Mexico.
Yeah, no, this was. I don't know why. Maybe they hide things from the East Coast. I'm not sure. Aren't you East Coast?
Mm-hmm. I'm in Alabama.
Yay, barbecue city.
Yep, I just had some today.
Oh man,
plenty of it. I make the best barbecue though.
I will come visit sometime during the next spring or summer, and you're gonna have to take me to one of those barbecue places.
Yeah, we got a good one just down the road.
White sauce or red sauce?
They have both. I don't usually take sauce though. If it's smoked good, I just eat it. Maybe with a little vinegar sauce, but that's about it.
Cool. Good
barbecue doesn't need souped up ketchup.
No, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure.
I like to make it. Well, it is. We've gone an hour, and I'll let you go. That's all. This has been a good talk, and I don't want to end it. I don't want to end it on like the down slope of like trying to reach for stuff. But this has been a really fun talk.
Cool. Well, I'll go ahead.
If you do come to Alabama, let me know.
I will, and I'm going to go ahead and shoot you a message and talk to you about a couple other things off the air. So,
all right, we'll go ahead and end it. And everybody, this has been a really fun chat. I got a lot of little clips I can cut from this. To people love hearing specific stories. You got some good ones. Cool. Yeah, I wish you the best of luck.
And I thank you very much. I'm sure we'll run into each other again.
Oh yeah, I mean you can come back on. I don't care. You can come back on whenever Clive Christopher comes on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. Thanks everybody for watching, and check out BobbyDizzle.com. What were you going to say?
Like, share, and subscribe.
Oh yeah, always. Let's do our countdown. Peace.
I never didn't believe in Bigfoot. I never believed in it, I didn't believe in it. I never give it any thought.
They kept wood knocking back and forth to each other, and it was in a pattern.
Barn owls don't typically throw rocks.
I come across these tracks.
Sasquatch is still not on my mind.